everyone, this is Isra Yusuf and I'm going to explain for you the adverbs. This is for grade 7, it is an English lesson at Finnish Systems Schools. Actually guys, the thing we're going to discuss today is about adverbs. Many of you have heard of adverbs, which is a word that describes a verb. And the outcomes that are expected for students to have after this lesson is that they will be able to identify the adverbs and to understand the adverbs, obviously. So, this is actually from your grammar booklets, boys and girls. This is page 32. Adverbs. An adverb is actually a word that describes a verb. So it is a word that it describes the verb itself. So adverbs might describe the verbs by telling how, when, or where an action happens. So actually they describe the verb by telling us how, when, or where the action has happened. Many adverbs end in ly, many adverbs, but not all adverbs. So you might have an adverb that does not end with an ly. So you should be careful about it. And let's explain how, or I can have adverbs that tells me how, when, or where and a verb that happen or an action happens. So how, when you have for example when you have the example you have on your page, the news reporters work hard. The news reporters work hard. How the news reporters work? You would obviously answer me, they work hard. So hard is actually an adverb which explains the action, which is, or the verb, which is work, the verb work. So how do they work? They work hard. They check the facts carefully. You have carefully here. And if you have to ask a question here, you would ask, how do they check the facts? You would answer, they check the facts carefully. They check it carefully. So carefully is here the adjective, which ends, the adverb, which ends with ly. And which tells us, which explains or tells us how do they check the verb, which is check. How do they check the facts? They check it carefully. When you have the example, which is the evening news will begin soon. If you want to ask a question here, when will the evening news begin? You would answer me that it will begin soon. So soon here is actually an adverb which describes the beginning of the evening news. Another example, which is the team always prepares in advance. If I asked you, when does the team prepare? When does the team prepare? When does the team prepare? You would tell me that the team always prepares in advance. So always is here an adverb which describes the verb, which is prepare. If you have another example, which is the news van rushes ahead. If you want to answer where where does the news van rush? So you'd answer it rushes ahead. So ahead is here an adverb which describes the verb, which is rushes here. So it is actually an adverb which describes the verb. We ask the question by using the WH question, which is where, so that we can know what is the adverb. So adverb actually can come, and we can many adverbs, we use many adverbs to tell us how, when, or where something happened, or which explains the verb itself. So an adverb, it tells us when, how, or where an action happened. So it actually adverb which describes the verb, So if you have an adverb, if you are confused if the word is an adverb or not, you you should say. If it describes the verb, so it is an adverb. If it does not, so it's not an adverb. And you can notice here all the examples we have that the adverb might come before the verb, as the example, which is the team always prepares in advance. Always here is an adverb which comes before the verb prepares, and the adverb can come after the verb, as the example you have here. They check the facts carefully. You have the adverb carefully, which comes after the verb check. So the adverb, it might come before and it might come after the adverb. Okay, now on your page, which is 32, you have some adverbs that tell you how that the question that you can ask the question how, using the WH question, how to describe the adverb or to answer with the adverb. You have like some adverbs which are slowly, fast, suddenly, together, quietly, hard, well, easier, badly, and quickly. These are adverbs that you might use or that tells you how, okay, how something. If I told you he runs slowly, how does he run? Slowly, you'd answer me easily, slowly. So slowly is here an adverb that describes the verb, which is run. Okay, that tells you how he run. Okay. You have some adverbs which tells you when. So we can use when, for example, yesterday, next, and you know when, that tells you like time, that is about time, often, tomorrow, always, later, then, soon, usually, and recently. These are all adverbs that describe for you, or that tell you when, so it is about time. You have here some adverbs which tell you where, for example, and you know where, that tells you for a place or something, for location or place. Here, upstairs, there, locally, outside, everywhere, below, ahead, near, far. These are all adverbs that tells you where something happened. Now on your page, the same page, which is 32, you have an exercise A. In this exercise, you're going to circle the adverb that describes the verb, which is in boldface, and you're going to write either the verb tells you how, when, or where. I did the first one, which is Aunt Sonia always wanted to be a reporter. Here, the verb is wanted, and I'm going to look for an adverb which describes the verb, which is wanted here. So it is actually always, and always is an adverb that tells me when when is something happened or it's going to happen. So if I asked you when does Aunt Sonia want to be a reporter, you would ask me always. She always wants to be a reporter. So here is the adverb. I'm going to circle the adverb which is always and which describes the verb wanted. So this is actually how you're going to do the exercise, and don't forget it's a homework and I'm waiting for your answers to check them. Okay, so this is how you're going to do the exercise. You're going to circle the adverb and you're going to write beside it if it tells you how, when, or where. In the first example, it tells you when. Okay, let's move to the second slide. Is a continue for the exercise which you have a homework. So I'm really waiting for your homeworks. Okay. Now let's move to page 33. Page 33 is actually you have a continued exercise, continued sentences for the exercise A, which you have a homework, and B is actually another exercise which wants you to circle the adverb in the sentences and to write the adverb on line, and they want you to circle the adverb, to underline the verb which it describes, and to write the adverb on the line beside each sentence. So I did the first example. So Aunt Sonia visited City Hall recently. I'm going here to look for the adverb, and obviously the adverb here is recently. So I'm going to circle the adverb recently, and I'm going to write it on the line. And recently here tells me when. Recently here tells me when something has happened. Okay, and it describes the verb which is visited. So I'm going to underline the verb visited. This is what you're going to do in the sentences you have below. This is a homework, but it's going to be a homework for Monday. So prepare yourself, and please, I'm waiting for you for your homework so that I can check them. Okay. So exercise A or practice A is for to do it on Sunday, and exercise 2 is to do it on Monday. Okay, which is a practice B. Okay, and I did the first sentence in each exercise or in each practice. Okay, now let's move to page 34. 34, you should remember that an adverb describes a verb by telling you how, when, or where an action happens. So this is actually what do you mean by an adverb? So it describes you the verb by telling you how, when, or where. Okay, we have an exercise here which is write an adverb to complete each sentence. Choose an adverb from the box or use an adverb from your own. The clue in parentheses will help you. The first one is done for you. So actually I'm going to write the adverb which is suitable for each sentence, okay? And I should look between what is between the parentheses. So I should consider it, okay? It is a clue. And we have like adverbs in the box, which is clearly, fairly, for, locally, next, and usually. The first one, which is clearly, what do you think? It clearly this tells you how, when, or where. It is actually clearly, when I tell you something clearly, so it actually describes or tell you that it is how, okay? How is for the adverb clearly, okay? And you have another verb which is fairly. What do you think fairly? Is it how? Does it tell you how? Does it tell you when? Or does it tell you where? It also tells you how, okay? Fairly. Far, when you say something is far, which is something that is not near you. The opposite of near, which is far. Something is far. Okay, so far is actually tells you where. Locally also tells you where. Next, which tells you when. Okay, because we are talking about time. Usually here it tells you also when. So clearly is how, fairly how, far, when, where, locally where, and next usually they tell us when, okay? And the first one is already done. News reporters must describe events clearly. So how news reporters must describe events? They must describe them clearly, okay? The second one, they must also present stories. How do they have to present stories? What do you think? How do they have to present stories? So they must also present stories. We have the verb here is present. So they must also present stories. What do you think? They must present. They must also present stories fairly. So this is actually the adverb I'm going to use, which is fairly, which tells me how they're going to present, and fair, which is fairly, which is an adverb that describes the sentence, that describes the verb. Facts are double checked at the studio. You have here when, so you should look for an adverb that tells you when. And we have two adverbs here in the box that tells me when. I have like next, and I have usually. These are the both adverbs that tells me when. So it is actually facts are usually. I use the adverb usually to describe the verb here in this sentence. So facts are usually double checked at the studio. So they are usually double checked. When are facts? When do facts double checked? They are double checked usually. Okay. News editors decide which stories to cover. You have here when. So you're looking for an adverb which tells you when, and you have the verb which is decide. So I'm going to news editors decide which stories to cover. Next, here you have the adverb next to describe the verb which is decide. Now the fifth sentence, which is reporters might investigate stories all nationally. So you have here where. So you're looking for an adverb which tells you where. Reporters might investigate stories or nationally. You have here reporters might investigate stories locally or nationally, because here this sentence you have locally, which means in the same area, in the same city, or nationally, which means in a wider place, in a wider cities, in a wider area. Okay, they might travel near, or you have, and you should look for a verb which tells you where. For a story, they might travel near or far. Near or far, and near is here the opposite of far. So this is how I knew that I should use the adverb far for a story. So this is actually how you solve the sentences. You should look for an adverb which describe what you have in the parentheses, and you should do it step by step so that you're not going to confuse like this. And you should identify each one in the box, either if it tells you how, when, or where. Okay, this is how you're going to do the exercise. And you have in the same page, which is 34, a quiz. This is actually a homework for Wednesday. You can do it in Wednesday. It is actually homework. You should do it the same way I did the first exercise, previously. So you have adverbs in the box, which is always anywhere, correctly, quickly, sometimes in when. You're going to identify each if it tells you how, when, or where, and you're going to look for the sentence to choose the correct adverb to put in the sentence. So this is how you're going to do it, and I'm waiting for your homeworks so that I can check them. So this is Isra Yusuf, and I'm going to put for you the sample answers later. This is Isra Yusuf. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, and bye-bye.